So welcome to the Manifestation Masterclass with me, the Shaft Show, Shaftuddin. Yes, this is my first ever masterclass. I'm in Bali, got the full Bali makeover, and I'm hanging around with a bunch of coaches, a bunch of influencers, and a lot of magical people, and they told me how to run a business. Now, I come from a very Bangladeshi Muslim upbringing. My oldest friend, Shanawaz, he knows me for my blueprint for myself was meant to be arranged marriage, work at my dad's Indian restaurant in Bexhill-on-Sea, move in to the house that my parents bought next door. So my arranged marriage that I got from my parents, we could all live in a big happy family. It sounds actually pretty great. I mean, in this day and age, if your parents could sort you out a wife and get your kids, I mean, it's quite easy. I think I might do that in 7 years' time when I'm 50. Yes, that's right. I'm still really young. So that is the blueprint for myself. I wasn't always this fabulous or that sexy. I mean, my tits are looking pretty incredible, I must say. I've been hitting the gym again. I basically used to suffer from depression since 1988. And I've been a hardcore addict to fun, which means I'm addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, and anything that I could put in my face to make me more outrageous. So I was addicted to drink and drugs from 1993. And I suffered from severe loneliness since 2004. So it hasn't been an easy ride. And all I've ever wanted is to be a stay-at-home dad. That was my blueprint for myself. Instead, I ended up living an outrageous life. Now, there's 3 races that I've been in. The rat race that we all know, then there's the enlightenment race, and then there's the impact race. Now, let me unpack this for now. So we all know the rat race that we're on. It's the hamster wheel. It's the programming that we all get when we're born. Now, there's different levels of programs and conditionings. Mine was from my parents, Bangladeshi Muslim, working class immigrants that came over to England to start a better life for us. And that conditioning is hardwired from the moment I'm born. Like, they are gods and my goddesses. They take care of me. They install all of their values onto me. It's up to me to break free from their conditioning. Now, the country I'm in, England, that also has a rat race, a conditioning and a program, which is go to school, go to university, get a job, get married. Once you've graduated, you should just naturally fall into a job. No one tells you how to get a job. That's really actually hard. But they say, no, you get a degree and you get a job straight away. And when you get a job, you retire. And during that time, make sure you have kids and get that house, that perfect house with that white picket fence and that beautiful blonde wife. I've always wanted a blonde wife, now I want to. And your 3 perfect children. There you go. Good job. Then you'll be happy. Then you'll be enough. Well, it turns out when you get all that and you get to the top, you're still not happy. And the only way to win this very powerful race called the rat race is to burn out. So once you get to the top, you burn out and you fall all the way down to the bottom and you go, who am I? What am I doing? And then you find a thing called the internet, which tells you, oh, am I going insane? I keep on hearing voices. And you Google things like meditation. Then you find things like yoga. Then you find things like Tantra, then breathwork, then plant medicines, and third eye activations, and then heart openings, and then you go to places like Koh Phangan. And then you start the rabbit hole of the enlightenment race. Now, this race is actually harder, just so you know. They sell it to you like, oh, enlightenment. It's another matrix. It's another con job. You'll get brainwashed again. So I'll tell you how this one works. I'm really far down the line, so I got out of that one, because the only way to win this one, and here it is, you do the gateway drugs of meditation, mindfulness. You find things like yoga. Then you want to become a yoga teacher. Then you leave your job and then you find Ista. And then you leave your family to become a Tantra teacher. Then you go down the rabbit hole of going to Peru, doing ayahuasca, doing Iboga. What? There's more. There's Bufo. Now there's Yopo. And all these things. And all of this mental conditioning starts unraveling. And then you go, I want to be a healer. I'm going to become a certified healer. Now, this one's worse because it's no longer 9 to 5. It's your whole life. Your everyday and waking day and sleeping day, everything becomes conscious. Everything you put into your mouth. Remember, there's all these different diets. Once upon a time, you could eat anything. Then, to reach enlightenment, the enlightenment race, you gotta eat certain things. So you go pescatarian, vegetarian, fruitarian, vegan, raw vegan. Then, eventually, if you're fully enlightened, you start fasting, then you go breatharian to reach enlightenment. I've done all of these. And then, once you become certified and fully enlightened, you've got to start your online course, you've got to start your business, you've got to build your community, you've got to start your own certification so you can certify people. Then you've got to have your own book. Then you've got to be an influencer and have a huge audience on Instagram and YouTube. I've done all this. And then eventually you get to the top and you burn out. And then... and this burnout's a lot longer than the rat race one. Then you slowly claw out the pit of despair. And then you find the race I'm in, the impact race. And that's where I find people like Vishen Lakhiani and all the other great influencers who are part of Mind Valley. Now, that's a fascinating journey. I'm just in the beginning of that. And I'm loving it. So, to rewind back to my origin story, I used to work really, really hard. I come from a Bangladeshi Muslim upbringing. We're just hardworking. Tantra is actually the path of unraveling all of who you were programmed to become and taking the best bits. And especially taking best bits from the rat race. I used to be a graphic designer. I used to be a art director, illustrator, music video director. So I'm just an artist, not very good at reading or writing. I just make things. I'm very good with my hands. This artist transferred all of his skills from graphic design and advertising. Now, I used to work for Coca-Cola, Fox TV, Nokia, basically the biggest brands on the planet. I also used to go to the office dressed like this. They just didn't care what I was like. As long as I delivered the goods, I was fine. And what I learned from that reality is how to get big ideas. And the big ideas is how to sell you products. Products you don't need. Use fear, make you feel insecure. Give you a solution that you don't need, but it's the product. And if you have this product, you'll be happy. Now, I understood human psychology from a very young age. I was depressed. I tried to kill myself when I was 8. I started young. I saw the whole system's fucked. And I really thought I could make a difference through advertising, through going into the corporations and taking them down from the inside. I did a little bit of good, but I never thought that I would be the product, and the product I would sell was the unicorn consciousness, Tantra and self-love, and I would be bigger than those brands, which is crazy. Which shows, as a small boy, I thought, come on, man, really make a difference. Turns out you can. You can make a difference. Each one of you has a unique story your origin story, where you could repackage and sell and inspire other people to go through the awakening that you had. And you're just a few steps ahead. Now, I'm so far away from the enlightenment race. Like, I don't class myself as a spiritual person at all. I never did. I just found interesting technologies on how to break free from my mental illness. I was batshit crazy. I literally thought I was a unicorn for the whole of my 30s. Like, I literally identified myself as a lesbian unicorn. Then I found Tantra, then I thought I was a god. I mean, that's a whole decade of my life of just thinking I'm a, not human. It's a fascinating journey. And all of this happened because I wanted to live my own life my own way. And I thought I was, until I discovered that I was brainwashed over and over and over again. It's up to me to design and craft the life that I want. I've been quite blessed because I found ways to craft and design my life. I'm an artist. They say the artists are the ones that escaped adulthood. We are the ones that actually, like, I describe myself like Madonna or David Bowie. Whenever they found something new, they would redesign themselves and recreate themselves so they would become the embodiment of their art. So that's what I did. And I was doing it unconsciously. I didn't know that I was doing it. So every phase of my life, I was the embodiment of my hobbies. So my name is Shaft. That's not my full name. My full name is a very long name. They shortened it to Shoff. When I went to Cardiff University, I became a break dancer, and my name was a shorter version of that, which was Shoff. And then they turned it to Shaft. I used to wear flares, and I was a bit of a 70s throwback. So my name was B-Boy Shaft, and that was my name. I was like it's given to me by an elder. When I went down the enlightenment race, the gurus give you a name, and you get your sannyasa names for if you're in the Osho communities. So I was given my name, and then I ended up embodying my name. So I was a graphic designer, art director. Then my whole persona and outlook was all about aesthetics and art and being a creative in London. Then I took a heroic dose of ketamine, and then I thought I was a unicorn. And then I used and this was in 2011, and then I used all of my advertising background to bring the unicorn consciousness into reality. So how to manipulate the narrative of the world using advertising. I used all of that to create a unicorn consciousness on the planet, and then millions of people started becoming unicorns. And then I had my official awakening in 2014, where I was at Burning Man and I couldn't get drunk anymore, and that's when the real horrors of my life happened. My awakening was not one of, yay, I'm like Neo and I could see the fabric of reality and I could warp and bend reality. No, it was shit, I can't get drunk anymore, and it doesn't matter how much I drink. And I was working and living at a sound camp called Bubbles and Bass, which is one of the bigger sound camps, where they give ice cold champagne in the early mornings and everyone just gets fucked up. I couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't be that unicorn that guided people on insane adventures across the playa. Like, I was a lot of people's spirit animal. I just lost all of my ability to connect with people. When you lose your courage and your ability to connect with people, I lost my identity. I was able to create my identities, but this one was taken away from me because I couldn't get drunk anymore. I couldn't connect with anyone anymore. My favorite thing is relationships. I'm very much a relationship kind of guy. I love relationships. I love managing lots of multiple relationships on top of each other, and like having a stack of amazing women who support me in my creation of building these empires. But during that period, I lost everything. And I naturally, asked people around me, guys, I don't know what to do anymore. I've hit rock bottom. It's that moment in your life where you have a crisis and you don't know who you are. I was working at Fox TV and I was like going insane. Sat in the office with all these voices going through my head. My boss, noticing that my workload was not that good anymore, and he literally said, Shaft, you were actually a lot better when you were drunk. And I was like, yeah, I know that. But weird things started happening. Every time I would make love, I would tense my body inside of a beautiful woman. And these were leftover lovers from my Burning Man days. They weren't new lovers. That I was still connecting with a lot of them they were just lovers carrying on into this horrible part of my existence. So I would make love to my lover. I would see electricity flowing through her back and exploding out of her back like giant angel wings. And this is me sober. And at the end, I would say, something weird happened during sex. There was a moment where I tensed and I saw this electricity flow through you. You turn blue, and then these angel wings burst out your back. And she'd be like, yeah, there was a moment where I felt all this energy go through me and burst out my back. I'm a logical guy, even though I was a unicorn lesbian. And I was like, this is unusual. This is something weird. I don't understand what's going on, but it's going on. Then I meet another lover, and something very unusual happens. Energy starts coming out of my palm, and I'm like doing this, and during lovemaking, weird things start happening. I'm doing these things, like my body's doing stuff. It doesn't make sense. Now, being drunk, an alcoholic and a drug addict, the only way you have sex is bum, 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 bum. I was into the jackhammer. That was my favorite thing, and I could last forever because I was just numb and like I was just drunk. And really aggressive sex. That's all I ever knew. For my body to do flowy things like this was super weird. So during this one time, all this colourful energy was coming out my palm. And I was doing this, and I could see all this energy coming out of her crown, and I could see rainbows flowing through her. And I was hallucinating sober. I say afterwards, weird thing happened again. I could see, and she was like, I saw rainbows going through me. I was like, no fucking way, because there's things came out my palms. So naturally I turned to the internet and go, what's going on? I talked to very close members of my family, and they said, you need to go to the doctors immediately. And I'm like, shit, maybe I need to I think I need to start therapy. So I start therapy. During this time, I have other friends going through the same thing. Their family love them so much, and they're going completely insane. They get sectioned. They get put into psychiatric wards because their parents are so worried for them that they get locked up and put into mental institutions. Now, my parents are Bangladeshi Muslims. They have no idea what I'm talking about. So they're not no, I'm not going to speak to them. Like, fuck, I'm going to get advice from my Muslim mother. I'm a lesbian unicorn. It doesn't make sense. So... And I love my mum, by the way. I love my mum to bits. I've got mum tattooed on my back. My mum's my best friend. Shit advice. The worst person for advice. So I asked people on the internet, guys, this weird thing's happening to me. And they all say, Shaft, it sounds like your light body's being activated. Your shaman body's being activated. Your kundalini's being activated. And I'm like... this sounds fucking awesome. Kundalini, what is that? Define Kundalini, Google. YouTube, third eye activation. Shaman, what's a shaman? Chakras, what's it? Meditate. No, not meditation, that's boring. Okay, what's going on? So I'm Googling everything, YouTubing everything, and then I find something that makes me sound like a superhero. Now, I've always wanted to be a superhero. I was an early adopter. 1984. The first memory I have is climbing up the stairs of my old house in St. Leonard's Warrior Square and going into my brother's room, opening up these giant piles of comics and seeing Wolverine. And for forever, I've always wanted to be like Wolverine. Funnily enough, fast forward to my unicorn days, and for 7 years I did dress up in spandex and I was actually a superhero. Now I get to design how I want to be, and there was a phase in my life where I actually became a sacred sexual Jedi. So anything is possible. We're going to come to that later. So eventually I find out that something's going on, and it's called a spiritual awakening, and it sounds really cool. I find a person called Infinite Waters diving deep. Once again, can I get a hello there? His name is Ralph Smart. He's a YouTuber, and he speaks my language. He's talking about everything I'm going through. I'm going, this is amazing. And he says the one thing that changes my life: you'll find the ones you love doing the things you love doing. Remember I said my favorite thing in the world is relationship, which is connected to sex? I really enjoy sex, which is connected to romance. My Venus is in Pisces, everybody. I'm a hopeful romantic. I love romance. I was brought up on Disney films and rom-coms. It's my favorite thing. I had no more access to relationships at all. I was a husk of a man. I couldn't make eye contact. My life was a disaster, literally falling apart. The whole fabric of reality didn't make any sense anymore. And then I find this one phrase, and my brain, when I read that, you'll find the ones you love doing the things you love doing, my brain said, vaginas. Straight away, my brain said, your Shaft, your next hobby needs to be vaginas. So during this time, there's a thing called orgasmic meditation, omming. Now, this is a strange meditation practice where you stroke the top left-hand quadrant of the clitoris for 15 minutes. There's now a Netflix documentary called Orgasmic Inc. And at this moment in my time, I really love a good sex cult. I was famous for having a polyamorous unicorn sex cult movement. There was a documentary being made during my mental breakdown. You could all witness me going insane as Vice filmed the moment I went insane and followed me around for 1 year. It was a shit show, which is now the Shaft Show. So what happened was I went to omming. It was weird. It didn't make any sense. Like, you'd touch vaginas for 15 minutes and then move on to the next vagina for 15 minutes, and I'll be stood by the water cooler afterwards pretending to drink water and trying to talk to a woman, but every time I plucked up the courage, someone would move in and dive in and talk to her, and then I have to go back to the water cooler and fill up the water and like sit there and go, I don't know how to talk to women still, and I would go home and cry. It didn't help with the social anxiety, but I was closer to vaginas. Now, something incredible happened during this time. By fluke, I started hearing this word Tantra over and over again. And I would meet these amazingly hot, powerful, sexy women, and they would move like this. They would like move so flowy, and they'll be outside these camps at these Burning Man events. I was very much into the burner scene, especially in Sweden and in the Scandinavian countries. I'm into hot blondes. There was a lot of them, and they would entice me into these camps, and I was like, wow, you're so beautiful. And they're like, come on in, and they would move like me. My body was activated through lots and lots of drugs. Did I mention I was a drug addict? I was a drug addict. So our bodies would talk to each other, and we'll move around, and then we'll start making out, and then get very hot and heavy, and I'll feel their amazingly firm boobs and touch their vaginas, and their vaginas were very firm and beautiful, and then I look at them in the eyes, and I'll be like, hang on, there's something not right about you. Sorry, but how old are you? And they'll say, I'm 50. At this time, I'm like in my early 30s. I thought they were my age. These 50-year-old grandmothers were young, really young. And I asked them, what are you doing to stay so young? And they say Tantra. I was like, okay, don't know what that is. I asked them, what is it? And they describe something that doesn't make any sense. And I just ignore it. Because I want to make out and have sex with them. So, next festival, I go to another festival, meet another woman, and I ask her what she does, what she's doing to stay young, and she says Tantra. I go back to London, and I ask my only spiritual friend, his name is Hardstar, he's a fellow unicorn, and I say, bro, there's a thing called Tantra, do you know what it is? And he's like, I know what it is, don't do Tantra. That's where you don't ejaculate. I'm like, that sounds like the worst thing. Ejaculation is the best thing on the planet. That's why we're here, right? I love sex and I love ejaculation. I am not going to do this Tantra stuff. It sounds shit. So I actually didn't do it because of my only reference point to spirituality was my mate Hardstar, and he was the truth holder, the position of authority for me, and Tantra was not the path for me.